What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Troll Bro Dude. And before we get into anything else, I want to talk about our partners at Underdog Fantasy. Right now, we are running the Slop season contest. The link is in the description. Go there and guess where up to 40 NBA players will be traded before this trade deadline. And if you guess right, you can win up to $500 in that Slop cash, baby, on Underdog. So you'll get bonus funds, and from there, you will be able to use it however you would like. First place gets 500, second place gets 250, third place gets $50. And then while you're on there, you can also use our promo code SLOP to get a $100 deposit match. You can do their pick'ems, you can do their daily fantasy contest. It's a lot of fun. So if you have not already, sign up for Underdog, join the contest. It's going to be running until the week before the trade deadline. There are a lot of fun names on there, and a bunch of you have already submitted. So if you have not already, go on there, do it, be a part of it, so that you can potentially bring home that slop cash this trade deadline. So, Sam, what's going on? How are we feeling?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's kind of crazy the Celtics haven't played in like over a week.
Wild.
It's crazy the scheduling like breaks like that. Sometimes
I hate when that
you
happens.
just don't play basketball for a week. So yeah, looking forward to their next game. Rob Williams is going to be back. So
cool.
Good, looking forward to seeing him play for the first time this year. And yeah, it's going to be great.
Well, the reason that we bring up the Celtics this early is we want to talk panic meter. We want to talk some teams that have maybe some moves to make, some potential soul searching, and the Celtics don't quite fall in that category right now, but there are some teams that have sustained some injuries recently, and we want to talk about them up top, which the first one is the very obvious one. The Sixers just played them the other night, and that's the Golden State Warriors, who actually played that game without Draymond, Wiggins, or Steph, and Dante DiVincenzo turned into Steph in the first quarter and almost made me lose my mind. But the Sixers did end up pulling that victory out late. And last night, the Warriors go into Toronto and they blow the doors off the Toronto Raptors, who we'll talk about in a little bit. The Sixers are playing them tonight as well. But how do we feel about the Warriors now that they won't have Steph for at least 2 weeks? The reporting's been very vague around his injury. Like, it's possible he could be out 2 weeks. It's possible he could be out longer. But it sounds like minimum of 2 weeks, and then they'll reevaluate. And obviously, we already know this team struggled when Steph was on the bench, when Steph didn't play in games. But how do you feel about just last episode, I think it was, or maybe 2 episodes ago, we were like, did we sleep on the Warriors? Like, are they like just like the sleeping giant in the West? Are they really going to be just kind of back to them normal selves once everyone is healthy? And then, of course, the next game, Steph gets hurt, and here we are.
I mean, I'd like to point out that they're continuing their record. They've won a game and lost a game, which is exactly where they've been all year with Steph. So, MVP case falling apart? Question mark. I'd like to point out the Boston Celtics without Jason Tatum just totally fell apart to the Magic. So Jason Tatum,
and they didn't do that 2 nights before either.
This is irrelevant. Let's not get facts and everything all turned around here. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really change my math on this was built into why I was skeptical about the Warriors, because they have a lot of old guys. They depend on a lot of older guys, and they're shallow. Like, so you are going to have these injuries, like Draymond might get hurt at some point. And I think they were counting on one thing. I didn't expect Jordan Poole to be this stinky, and it does seem like he's kind of sans Steph. He's kind of turning it around, almost like he's not really compatible. Almost like a high usage guy isn't compatible with one of the greatest high usage players of all time. But I mean, like, Kuminga's kind of coming together, which is, I think we kind of expected one of these young guys would come together, but I still think they're just a guy short. Like, I heard Zach Lowe was talking to Bobby Marks about this on Friday, and he was saying, like, JaMychal Green. I was like, really? You're counting on you want JaMychal Green giving you like 8 minutes in the playoffs? Like, I don't know. I think they're still a guy short. And I think they could get there pretty easily, but I think you got to be in the business of attaching draft picks and giving up on, Jonathan Wiseman,
Jonathan Wiseman.
Or what's his name?
James Wiseman.
James Wiseman. There
Jonathan Kuminga and James Wiseman are now one person.
Yeah, they're one person.
They have mashed together. That's actually
I'm going Bill mode.
Pretty shitty player, actually.
Yeah, I've gone full Bill mode here. No, I just don't think they're gonna give up on James Wiseman to the level they will need to get a deal done, because I don't think he's contract filler at this point. You're gonna need to attach a pick to get a real player back, and I think they need that to stand a chance. And I think they could stand a chance still. Like, I do kind of buy the idea that they could squeak into the playoffs as like a 6, 7, 8 seed. And
I buy them more as a playoff team than I do as a regular season.
Yeah.
For all the same reasons that you've said.
Yeah.
They have no depth. They're completely reliant on their top guys. And even with Wiggins out, they've struggled. Anytime a lot of these top heavy teams, anytime you lose one guy, you're going to struggle for sure.
Yeah.
And I actually thought Zach brought up a good point on that podcast where he said, like, it's easy to look at the on-off stuff, and like we do it with Jokic and Embiid and Steph, and these guys that are on teams that, like, when those guys play, everything runs through or around that guy. So when they're off the court, it's a little bit harder for guys to get into their rhythm, guys to kind of fit the pieces around when those players sit on the bench. But when you have games to game plan without them at all, you have games like the Sixers game and the Raptors game where they can hang and they can, the system still is effective without him. It's just not even remotely close to how effective it is with him, obviously. Like, he is pretty much a large part of why that system is effective. Poole can do a little bit of the fake Steph stuff. Like, during the Sixers game, he was doing a lot of getting getting downhill or into the mid-range, and if he missed the shot, he would immediately relocate and spot up and get an open three. Like, those kind of things he can do. He's just not shooting it at a Steph clip. He's not going to have the same impact. Teams aren't going to game plan around Jordan Poole like they do around Steph Curry. While they can kind of do a little bit of a fake Steph move, it's not going to have near the impact that Steph does when he is on the court, just because he's such a as every team continues to learn, he is impossible to game plan for, basically. So that's definitely going to hurt them, obviously. Like, you lose your MVP candidate, you're shallow, you don't have a ton of depth. The one thing I think that could be beneficial for this is the fact that you're going to see the team have to figure out a way to survive without Steph. And that could be beneficial to them when Steph gets back. That could be beneficial to them when you get into the playoffs. I still don't really buy them. I don't really buy them as, like we say, like, oh, they're going to be, like, what, maybe if they sneak into whatever. They're the 11 seed right now. And that's the thing that scares me is, like, if they go on a skid, if they don't find that rhythm, like, they kind of have, once again, there are no easy games in the NBA anymore. Like, it's just kind of like you hope that you get Charlotte and whoever, and maybe the other team has some injuries or whatever. But the large majority of the NBA schedule is just incredibly tough nowadays. But their next few games are the Knicks, who are on a 6-game winning streak, the Nets, who can't stop winning, the Grizzlies, and then you get a little bit easier from there. So you get the Hornets, Jazz, and then who knows, maybe Steph is coming back the next week against the Trailblazers, Hawks, whatever. But, like, they're going to have to survive this run just to be able to, like, kind of hang around that play-in range. Because right now, it can change. Things can change very fast, and that, like, you have a 5-game winning streak in one direction or a 5-game losing streak in the other direction, and you're rethinking how you're going to go about the trade deadline and how we want to, talk about, like, some of these teams later that we'll talk about, like, how they want to build their teams moving forward. But right now they're behind the Timberwolves and in between them and the Lakers. And the only team I really see ahead of them potentially falling out is the Jazz. And the Jazz are still being somewhat competitive. They're 2 games above 500. And the teams below them, like, I don't think they're going to fall below the Thunder, Spurs, or Rockets. Like, I just think that those teams have incentive to tank. They have a reason to kind of hover around there. And their talent, while it's like they have some talent, it's just so young that it's like they're really not. Maybe the Thunder could challenge them, but I highly even doubt that they have the incentive to like. They're not going to be making moves to try to improve at the deadline. Is my thing.
No, Shea is going to get a bone bruise that will sideline him for 3 months
Exactly.
if that's ever threatening to happen. Sam Presti for jail 2023. I
but my
do,
whole thing here is basically like they're going to need to go 500 in this run, or Steph's just going to have to go into Super Saiyan mode in the second half of the season.
Yeah. So what do you think is the team with the fewest road wins in the NBA this year?
It's the Warriors. They can't win it on the road.
So they're
right?
Yeah, they're in like a 5-way tie with the Raptors, Wizards, Magic, Hornets, and Rockets. So
that's really tough.
They just cannot win a road game. And I think part of that is they are relying on young guys. And I think young guys are kind of more susceptible. Like I think Jonathan Kuminga, for example, is probably, I would bet that his road home splits are pretty jarring. Like just in terms of like how he looks. So
the only one who's better on the road is Dante DiVincenzo, who is literally the greatest shooter of all time when he plays in the Wells Fargo Center where he played games in college. So
yes. I see. I don't know. Like the Warriors, I do think like, they have played 17 versus 14 road games to home games, and like we just said, they're 12-2 at Chase Center, but on the other side of the coin. So, I don't know. There's like, I could see it either way. I still feel good about my under, and we've seen the Warriors lose play-in games before too. That's the other thing. It's like, even if they get all the way up to 7, they're still in a little bit of danger. Like
this team feels a little bit more like that team than last year's championship team to me, because of the lack of depth, and also because of the fact that like you never know what you're going to get from like Jordan Poole. And like as Jonathan said in the comments, would the Warriors be good if Clay was good? And that's the biggest thing to me. Like Clay was out that season when they lost in the play-in, but like Clay was terrible in the Sixers game. Like once again, like just another and like.
And he was good in the Celtics game.
Well,
so
because he's trying to shoot himself out of the slump, right?
Right.
Like and also when Steph is out, he tries to do a little bit more creating, which usually does not have good results. And basically all of this to me comes down to what version of Draymond do we get? When do we get Wiggins back? And is Jordan Poole going to return to the form that he was last year? If the answer for that is Draymond's going to play as well as he did last night against the Raptors, where he scored in the first 5 minutes of the game his season high in points. He scored 13 points in like the first 5 minutes of the game. Hit 3 threes in a row to start that game, and looked like the Draymond of old. Then they're going to be fine. And I do think that the Wiggins element, at least without Steph, like Wiggins has not been playing recently, and if Wiggins comes back. And, like, he's never going to be what people thought he was going to be as a creator, but, like, it helps a lot now that he's been playing in the system for a few years. He knows his role. And also, if need be, he can scale up a little bit. He can be a little bit more of an on-ball guy, especially if Poole's playing better. So, overall, I'm not super concerned, but, like, basically all they have to do is go around that 500 range while Steph is out. But that's a tall task when you said, like, that's what they've been all year, even with him.
So the way I see this is it's also less about the Warriors. I think I was hoping the West would be better this year, but it still seems like pretty much every West team has some major question marks, except for like the 2 young teams they've
even had a lot of injuries. The Grizzlies' 3 best players have not played together yet, and Brandon Ingram has been out for weeks.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm still skeptical of the Grizzlies in the playoffs. I think that I still think that there's depth things here, and I'm a little concerned about them playing a real playoff team. But it also looks like, in the West, you might get to play the Kings or the Blazers in round 1. Like, it seems like Dallas and Minnesota and some of these teams we were expecting to be better are just not good. The Suns are like a lot more vulnerable. Like Denver is Denver's probably the closest thing to a sleeping giant. And like, I don't know. There's no team in the West looking up and down where I'm like, yeah, the Warriors have no
can't
chance.
beat them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, no, could they do? You got to do that 3 times in a row to get out of the West. So,
sure.
That's what it gets a little bit more tricky. But I don't know. I don't think the West is less good than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be back to being stronger and more comparable to the East. But I think the East is just, again, a lot stronger like it was last year. So
it's the great Midwest.
It's
just a bunch of mid teams. And then there are the teams that we like, some of the younger teams, whatever. But like, I do think I also find it comical that I don't know if you caught this last night, but a team that we'll talk about in a little bit, the Chicago Bulls, they played against the Minnesota Timberwolves without both of the centers. And the Timberwolves with D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards, who have both been on a tear recently, scored 150 points.
Oh my God.
So as funny as the expectations we had for the Timberwolves, they've actually been playing better as of late. And it's mostly due to the fact that Towns has been out of the lineup. It's just that those issues don't seem to present themselves as much when you're not playing those two bigs, but that's kind of the reality that they're in. Like when both of those guys are healthy, they're going to have to be playing most of their minutes once again, because they're shallow, once again, because they just kind of gave all this money and everything that they needed for Rudy Gobert. So even the teams that like are just ahead of the Warriors, I feel like they're going to be within striking distance, and all you need is like a crazy Steph month to get you right back on the path. And like, I don't think they're going to win 50 games, but I think that you'll probably be able to finish around that 500 mark in the West, make the play-in, and then from there, they're going to be that team that like it's kind of nauseating where it's like no one wants to play the Warriors, but like of course no one wants to play the Warriors. Like why would you? They just won the title last year. Like I think a lot of the times that these things can get. People can pick these teams. We've done it with the Lakers for years, where it's like no one wants to play the Lakers with AD and LeBron, and it's like, are they even going to get there? Like that, like that seems to be the bigger issue. But I do think the Warriors will probably be fine. If I did a panic meter from 1 to 5, I'm going to go. All right, let's do 1 to 10. I'll do panic meter for them at 5, like decently in the middle. I'm going to say. I still think they should make a move before the trade deadline. It's insane that they won't even consider it. If they're not in rumored deals, I'm going to be probably more concerned. But for now, I'll go 5 out of 10. I think as long as Steph isn't out for over a month, they'll be fine. They'll probably end up being a play-in team, but that's kind of, you just have to readjust your expectations for this year.
Yeah. And I was going to say 4 just because I'm a little less concerned just because this is pretty in line with what I thought about them coming into the season. And again, we're in lockstep here because I think that it all depends on them making a move. I think if you can get one more good rotation player, if you can get Bojan Bogdanovic, if you can get Kelly Olynyk, you can get a guy Kuzma like that,
or whoever.
Yeah, Kyle Kuzma, whoever that is, I think they'll be a much more dangerous team, and I think that they'll have a chance to come out of the West if they make that move. But it involves moving James Wiseman and your ownership admitting that they made a mistake, which I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical that's going to happen. Yeah.
I think that. I mean, look, that's been the messaging I've gotten from every Warriors fan I know, and I'm going to trust them. They know their ownership better than anyone else. My favorite Lake Up story was when I went on the Round Ball Rock podcast. They were talking about how Lake Up has like intentionally, whenever they do like ribbon ceremonies or like anything like that, he's never let Steph be the face of them because he only does it for guys that he's acquired. So for example, David Lee was the first big free agency signing that they had when he took over the Warriors. And they had him do like some big, I don't even know, it wasn't a ribbon ceremony, but they had him as like the face, like sent him out there instead of Steph. And then a few years later, when they were unveiling the Chase Center, they brought out KD to do the ribbon cutting because he signed with them and free. So basically, there's been this thing where like, and it's not an exaggeration when we've talked about the Warriors in the past, where like it is literally the ownership thinking that they're the reason why they're good instead of Steph Curry.
Right.
So it's like there's actual proof to that, but we'll see. We'll see how they're feeling in a few weeks here. All right. let's get into the Lakers. So the Lakers just played the Wizards. They beat the Wizards without Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is going to be out a month. And part of me feels vindicated for saying I'm not trading those picks. 2 weeks ago, I said I'm not trading those picks unless I see LeBron James and Anthony Davis healthy for a month, as they've shown time and time again at this point in their careers. They can't really stay healthy. Mm-hmm. But another part of me feels like I'm actually maybe a little bit more inclined to deal those picks now, because it's not that I even believe in this Lakers team. It's more that I think that during this month without AD, which, like, they're not going to trade the picks in the next month. Like, that's just not going to, like, right. They're going to wait until the last possible second, which I think if you're going to deal them right now would be my thing. Call up Indiana, get that deal that's on the table, the Miles Turner, Buddy Hield one that we've been talking about forever, and try to, because, like, I actually watched this Lakers team now, and, like, when they played your Celtics last week, I know it was the Wizards, but, like, this is the first time that they've looked like a real team to me. Like, they play with energy. They are actually competing against good teams. They competed against the Sixers, the Celtics. Like, they're beating the teams they should beat. And with AD coming back, assuming that this isn't, like, a more serious injury than it seems like, they're going to have at least a shot to win a playoff series. And I think in a market like LA, as we talked about all the time, that's important for getting free agents, for getting guys to come there, remaining competitive, whatever. So this AD injury doesn't worry me as much as it would have at the beginning of the season, because I actually think they have some nice young talent with Lonnie Walker, who's been playing better. Austin Reeves has been really good for them. And then even without Anthony Davis, like, look, I'm kind of like, if I were them, I would still just deal Russ, because we saw at the end of that Celtics game, that is what you're going to get in the playoffs, which is teams just ignoring him and him shooting you out of the game.
Right.
But it would be nice for them to, like, I would still make the move, but it seems like they're going to hold on to Russ for some reason and try to trade Patrick Beverley and Kendrick Nunn with those picks to get back guys. I wouldn't do that personally. I would just try to get the most talent with the Russ money and go from there. But panic meter wise, I mean, I had no expectations for this team. I thought they were going to be terrible. I think that proved itself early in the year that they were, until AD goes on this run, and now they have a little bit of chemistry. They're looking like a more normal team. They're still they're outside of the play-in right now. They got to fight their way into the play-in. So I guess it's all relative to your expectations, but, like, right now I would put my panic at, like, probably like a 6 or 7 for them, in terms of, like, if you want to try to salvage this year at all, if possible, you got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thing with the Lakers is just, like, it's such an exercise in, like, futility, you know, like, they really are just operating a giant sunk cost fallacy. Like it really is like a franchise thing in that, because I just think that the Russ trade removed them contending, you know what I'm saying? And I haven't seen enough, even when LeBron and AD are healthy together, I haven't seen enough to make me think, unlike the Warriors, I don't think they have the firepower to, like, win even 2 series in a row. Like,
sure, I think 1 is their ceiling.
Yeah. Like, maybe if, like, the Timberwolves get out or something, or, like, they catch a team that's injured, or I don't know, like, something. Yeah, if they catch the Suns and the Suns have a diaper disaster or something like that, like, you know, like,
they've done it before.
They've done it before, you know. Like maybe that's on the table, but I just don't see a way. I mean, I don't know. I would be using Russ's giant expiring to take back slightly toxic contracts, like trade with, like, the Knicks or something like that, and just, like, really taking back, like, Fournier and Randall and getting some of their picks or something like that, like, and then just
they're not trading Randall now. He's a superstar again.
Yeah, he's back. He's back, baby.
He's back for the 5th time.
Tibbs is going. Yeah, oh man, they really are. The Knicks. It feels mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems like This is like what is happening to you guys with like Doc Rivers, but like at a way higher pitch, like the Knicks and like like
the
Tibbs and everything.
I think the front office stepped in and said you can't keep playing Fournier, Rose, and Reddish. Like that's really what happened. And like ever since he pulled those guys from the rotation, they're competent. Like they're like winning games and like that's the thing is like I don't think Tibbs is like a day-to-day horrible coach. I just think that he has principles that he won't break from. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's the same thing with Doc. Where like I'm sure Doc is a fine day-to-day coach, but like there are certain things that he will never like break off of. And that seems to be the issue with a lot of these older coaches.
Yeah. And I guess just my thing with like the Lakers is it's like, I would just be looking into trading like LeBron.
Okay, so my question for you is like you always talk about like and obviously they have no reason to tank because they don't have their pick.
They don't have their picks.
Completely unprotected to it's a swap this year, but New Orleans is the one that controls it and they're good. So it doesn't really matter. But I guess my whole thing is like you always talk about like the importance of like having a competitive fun team and like keeping the fans happy and shit. And like with the Lakers disaster over the last decade, except for that 1 year, like I'll just pitch it like this. And I don't even know if I believe in this, but like I do believe that like the Lakers being relevant is best for their long-term success because they're such in the most unique legacy standpoint, market standpoint of any team in the NBA, even more so than the Miami Heat. And that's the fact that they can actually get free agents. So like if they made that, this would be their starting lineup if they made that trade today. And obviously AD being out throws a wrench in everything because AD being out it's tough. Like, I mean, it's like you're not going to survive losing one of the 15, 20 best players in the NBA.
But that's also like part of my calculus though, is like that's I'm sorry, like that's part of the deal here is like you can't count on this guy to like be healthy like at any point in time, like so
it's built into it.
Right, exactly. So anyway, sorry, the lineup you were saying.
No, but like what I was gonna say was like let's just say like they survive this stretch. Let's just say like they go. All right. Well, right now they're like it is hard because their record is 13-16 right now. Like they have to win games just to get back to that 500 level that like the Warriors and the Timberwolves and those teams are at. So let's just say AD's out for a month and he misses, I don't know, 13 games, whatever in that stretch, and they go 6-7, and they're 4 games below 500. They're like 2-3 games out of the play-in. If you make this trade that's been floated out there forever, you get Buddy Hield, who I honestly think we talked about it in a group chat earlier. I totally agreed with this take. Buddy Hield might have even become a little bit underrated, if anything. Like his shooting and in the right certain contexts could probably be really useful for a team like the Lakers that's just very shooting starved. So you get Buddy Hield, who's one of the 5 best shooters in the NBA. And especially off ball, off movement, all that shit. You get Buddy, you start Lonnie Walker at the 2, you put LeBron at the 3, AD at the 4, and you put Miles Turner at the 5, and then your bench, you have Austin Reeves and Thomas Bryant. So that's your top 7. So that at least to me looks like a real team. You know what I mean? Like that's at least like we're probably, as long as AD stays relatively healthy and LeBron stays relatively healthy, which is the big question mark, that to me is at least a competent enough team that I think that they'll make the play-in and potentially make it into the playoffs. And then from there, who knows? I probably wouldn't bet on them winning a series, but I think that could be a really good playoff defense with those two on the interior. And then you just put as much shooting and athleticism around them as possible and just hope that kind of works. Like, I don't know. I think Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves being as good as they have been, and that kind of made me readjust my expectations for what this team could be and like maybe win a playoff series, has kind of changed how I feel about this, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I just still don't think, because unlike a lot of other teams that I advocate for, and other like they like we have talked about, the Lakers are like a rare freak. Like they're one of like 3 teams that can actually get free agents and stuff like that. So, their cap space is actually important to them. And the Lakers just have no draft picks for like forever. Like
they're cooked.
They're cooked. And the idea behind trading all those picks is you're getting a star. They were getting Anthony Davis, who's a star in his prime, but he also just cannot play a complete season. Like, and LeBron James is, Father Time finally, who is undefeated, is finally catching up to him, which is not slander at LeBron. He fucking rang 5 more years out of his career than I expected, so, but he is starting to make the downfall.
Like,
yeah. Like, I just think that, I don't know. I just don't think that there is any upside for this team to even be middling in the near future. Like, you're counting on Kyrie Irving at this point is basically what you're counting on.
Yeah.
That's like the only thing that can change things for you. And
if you make this trade, you have to figure it. You basically have to let Miles Turner walk and also figure out a way to get rid of Buddy Hield to get the salary space to sign Kyrie.
Which you can't do. Like, you're going to have like a 30 pick swap, a 20-30 pick swap is going to be the only way you can do that.
It would just be a team that's like, we'll take an expiring Buddy Hield because Buddy Hield's a solid player. Like, that's the only world I see that working. But like,
and I don't think there's that many teams like that. Like, the Thunder are not going to have cap space anymore. Like, I guess the Spurs.
No, the Thunder and the Rockets. The Thunder and Rockets will have cap space next year.
Are they?
They will.
They will. I don't think the Thunder are. For some reason, I think there was something that's making me think that.
It's like SGA, Lou Dort, and then a bunch of rookie deals, and then like some medium-sized deals.
But they have they like with their draft picks and stuff like that. There's like $10 million.
Oh, true. Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey,
yeah. Like there's it's surprising. Like, it's literally just the Spurs. So I don't know. I think you're better off as the Lakers punting on this year, getting the Westbrook deal out of there, still having those picks and doing something with that cap space. Because also, by the way, it's not under guarantee you get Kyrie Irving anymore. We talk about how fast things change in the NBA all of a sudden. The Nets are good again. Now, how long is that going to last? I don't know, but
they've been hooping.
And like, as long as like nobody asks like Kyrie about Hanukkah or something like that like, over the thing, like he will probably still be. Like the Lakers have done the requisite PR work through LeBron and the other guys to kind of make a home for Kyrie Irving. But if Joe Tsai, you also need Kyrie Irving to take a discount, by the way, which, the Nets can put that to bed by if they decide, all right.
They have his bird rights. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't think the Lakers are in a really bad spot. I would not be giving up those picks because I don't think they're going to win a title. And I don't think that changes your fortunes that much. Like, you're missing Anthony Davis anyway. Like, who knows? You might get in the play-in game anyway, and you still might. Like, you're going to end up in the same place anyway, even if you don't make that trade. I don't think the upside makes that big of a difference.
That's fair. Yeah. And we'll see how Westbrook plays in these weeks without, because he always does the Westbrook cycle thing, as we talk about. First month of the season, first 2 months of the season, you're like, this guy sucks. And then from December through April, you're like, this is the greatest player I've ever seen. And then he sells in the playoffs, just like he does every single year.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible we get the Westbrook cycle, and that actually changes their fortunes more than a actual trade could. But I'm even kind of past that point with Westbrook where I think that he would do that. But okay, so Lakers, what's your panic meter at for them? Because I said like 6 or 7.
I mean, it's been there for a while for me. Like, like I think it's like 6 or 7, but it hasn't really changed. Like, nothing that's changed. None of the information has changed. Like, Westbrook playing better hasn't changed anything for me. Anthony Davis getting hurt hasn't changed anything to me. Their young guys being good hasn't changed anything to me. It's been a very solid 8, I would say. I think they're in real trouble. I see no upside with this team. I think you've got to tear it down to the studs if you want to rebuild again, and I just don't think they have much choice here. Like, especially with how good some of the team and young, more importantly, the West. Some of these teams in the West are. So,
Okay, so let's move on to some recent losing teams. So those were the two injury teams. Now we get to the recent losing teams. So basically teams that have been struggling recently, including your Boston Celtics, who have lost 4 of their last 5 games after their crazy hot start. And their one win was actually in overtime against those Lakers. So before you get into anything, you saw the clip that I posted. We need to start holding people accountable here on the Uniball podcast. And I posted a clip from the Low Post of Bobby Marks talking about Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Bobby Marks talking about Jason Tatum and how the Lakers should be sick for passing on him for Lonzo Ball in the 2017 draft.
That's self-preservation, though. That's about himself. You get what I'm saying? Because if the Sixers or Lakers had done that, all of a sudden that Nets trade is not as bad. We traded Jaylen Brown and Lonzo Ball. Yeah. It's a way different trade from we traded an MVP candidate and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. So an MVP candidate and an all-star for the corpses of 3, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Jason.
Well, and also taking on the Gerald Wallace contract that you signed for. And the reason you have the Gerald Wallace contract in the first place is because you traded the draft pick that became Damian Lillard for literally a half season of Gerald Wallace.
Just a historically bad run of trades.
I know everyone shits on the Nets Celtics trade. I honestly think that's a worse trade.
It is. Because the upside of that trade was there was no upside.
Yeah. That is one of the worst trades of all time. Like bar none. I think that's what that one gets, because that's why they had to make the Celtics trade.
Yeah.
Because they locked themselves in with that dog shit. Oh my God, that was so bad. Anyway, but Celtics, they're it turns out.
Wait. I just want to say, anyone who doesn't know, Bobby Marks was the assistant GM during that term that literally traded away the pick, as Sam said, that became those guys. And he's the one that is saying the Sixers and the Lakers should be sick at the fact that they pass on Jason Tatum, which is also completely revisionist history.
It is.
Like, no one thought Tatum was going to be the best player from that draft. They thought that he would have went in that 3-4 range, which is where the Celtics traded back to with the Sixers. They had a handshake agreement. Markelle Fultz's team wouldn't meet with the Sixers until they traded for the pick. There was a lot of shit happening behind the scenes that people don't really talk about. The Lakers are really the only ones that even had the chance to draft him. And even so, Lonzo was thought to be the better prospect at the time. So that's completely the Celtics made the right move, but
I was upset. I was upset when the Celtics traded that pick because I really thought Markelle Fultz was bar none the best prospect of that draft.
Everyone did. They were like, it's James Harden with defense. Like, that's what people were.
I still don't really understand what happened to Markelle Fultz. Like, to be honest, there needs to be a 30 for 30 on that. Because
there will be.
Because he I was watching him in that Magic. He's still a good player. There's
just the shooting.
Yeah, well, but that's what I'm saying. But I watched him, and I get that, college shooting isn't everything, but the stroke was so smooth. He was relocating, he was doing all this thing, all this stuff that is, I don't know. It is crazy to me that happened. Yeah. But anyway,
and Will, who was formerly a Nets fan, has become an Orlando Magic fan, has said that he believes that Fultz is the next version of Ricky Rubio, where he's the Fisher-Price my first point guard, where he's just going to bounce around to a bunch of teams that are rebuilding and then be I'll be the point guard who can do a little bit of everything. But his overall, just because of the shooting, will never be as great. I wish the best for Markelle, and I'm glad to see that he's doing well in Orlando. Apparently their record is they're over 5. So someone said they're over 500 in the last 40 games he's played for the Magic when he plays, but that's over the course of the last 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Because of the injuries,
they're on a 6-game winning streak right now, by the way.
Wow. Who were 2 of those wins against?
I'm not sure. This is probably a bad team.
Probably the
especially if imagine if the Magic beat a team, if the Magic come into your house twice in a row, beat you at home twice, that'd be crazy.
That'd be nuts. I wouldn't even be able to believe it.
Very upsetting if that happened. So anyway, the Boston Celtics. Yeah, our Boston Celtics. I mean, look, Here's what I would say. I think it's pretty clear that they're not the world beating offense. Regression comes for everybody.
We talked about that too. Was that like the shooting was just insane?
Yeah, the shooting was not gonna, and but now it's swung the other way where it's like unsustainably bad. They're shooting like 20-something% like over this stretch or something like that from three. Like it's heroically bad, like very bad. Like and they're not that bad either. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to our friend NBA Matt, who I think is right that this is JJ Redick's fault. He explained, he had Derek White on his Old Man in the Three podcast, and he explained imposter syndrome to Derek White. And ever since then, Derek White has not been the same.
He acquired the imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
he didn't know he had it.
It is JJ Redick's fault what is happening to the Celtics right now, is what I'm saying. Right? He sat Derek White down and explained to the concept of imposter syndrome.
I didn't even. Why was he explaining imposter syndrome? Was he talking about like Ben Simmons or something? Like what? Yeah. What was the content? Like, why is he explaining imposter syndrome to NBA players?
I don't know. It's because he's a demon. He's someone who is here to invite chaos into the building. Keep
it up, JJ. You're doing good work for the Sixers still.
Yeah, I was gonna say he is a God.
It's actually the best he's ever done against the Celtics for the Sixers.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Is what he's doing. I mean, so. You're getting all the usual brain dead takes that this is like somehow Rob's fault. That's absolutely not the case. The Celtics just missed like a billion threes. I also think, by the way, I also just think the Magic are good. Like I was watching them with Markelle, with Paolo. They play good defense. They're big. They're strong. Like I think we're gonna see them go on a little bit of a run. This is kind of what I was expecting. Honestly, like Mo Wagner. Is all of a sudden like,
all right, come on.
No, I'm not kidding. Like I don't know if Franz
this coping is beyond. Okay, I'll accept the other praise for Magic players, but Mo Wagner is where I draw the line.
I'm just telling you, like Mo Wagner is like doing shit, like being annoying, being an agitator. Like I don't know. I think the Magic are better, way better than the record. I would not be surprised to see them claw their way into like play-in range by the end of the year if like
I hope they do.
Healthy. Yeah,
I hope they do, because if they don't, they're going to get another great prospect at the top of the next draft, and then they become a fucking problem for the next decade.
Paolo's the truth. Paolo's real, dude. He's a real fucking guy. Like Paolo's going to be a problem for a while. You don't want to give him a real. You give him a real teammate, all of a sudden the Magic are cooking with something. Well, he's got Franz. You give him a third good teammate. By the way, are you quietly celebrating now that Zach Lowe has admitted that the Kuminga over Franz? That he's surrendered this. This is your victory.
I'm glad, but I can't even take full credit because before the draft I was not a Franz guy. So I will say that I'm glad that we've returned to reality though, because everyone loves to do this with players in their first 2 years where we fall in love with the idea of what a player could be.
Chat's being so rude to me right now.
Sam sounds like Bill Simmons after watching the Thunder win a game.
Rude. This is very rude. I didn't ask for this.
To be fair, I think the Magic's young core is like, okay, let's say young core guys in their first 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
They have the best one in the NBA. Like they have two guys like Paolo, who's probably going to be, all right, well, let's think about it. No, they definitely have the best of first guys in their first 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, like if you're not counting, because Shea is older than like.
Yeah, Shea isn't a prospect anymore. Shea's an All NBA player. Shea's 24. He's like, I think that's where you hit your mark, where it's like, okay, you are kind of what you are at this point for the large majority of guys, and that's a very good thing for Shea. And look, maybe the Thunder, because of all the draft capital that they have and stuff like that, but like. Even like the Pelicans are a little bit longer in their process. The Grizzlies are a little bit longer in their process. But of like the young teams, like the teams that like we can project forward the next 5 years, like I'd feel pretty great to have a guy who's probably going to be an All-NBA guy in Paolo. And worst case scenario for Franz, he's like a fringe All-Star guy, if not like solidly in the All-Star conversation, All-NBA conversation. On an annual basis. I like the Magic's young core a lot.
Morse was basically saying in the 48 hours leading up to the draft, that they were still contemplating taking Jabari or Paolo. Like, that was a real thing. Like, they weren't lying, basically. They weren't like faking to like get people to trade up or whatever. And
can you imagine, by the way?
In retrospect, it seems insane. I mean, I was always I had Jabari 4 on my board. I had Paolo 1. Like, I was always but like their reasoning, actually, it's funny. Their reasoning is probably the exact opposite of why certain teams would take Jabari over Paolo. And their reasoning was, we thought Paolo would be able to hit the ground running and be a better player from day one. Whereas, like, if you're a tanking team and you're trying to be in the conversation for Wemby next year, then you might draft Jabari 1, right? Like, you might like Jabari long-term just as much, and you think he's going to be worse from the jump, so you draft him so you have a shot at Wemby next year. But which is what I jokingly have said about the Rockets' last 2 drafts, is that they're just drafting the slightly worse prospect on their board, because then they have a shot at the next prospect in the next draft. So they get
Sixers.
Yeah, exactly.
Process Sixers.
Yeah. Get the injured guy so that you can, so you can refuel whatever. But the Magic are absolute slam dunks right now for the next 5 to 10 years. Like, as long as those guys are under contract, they're going to be a force in a few years for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I just don't see those as particularly bad losses for the Celtics. I mean, you lose 2 straight at home to a team that's bad. I mean, like, look, that's bad, but like, I don't think it's panic. I'm not panicking about the Celtics. I just think that there does need to be a little bit of a expectation adjustment, just because they played way above their heads for 20 games out of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's probably still going to be what we said all year. They're going to play the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the title is basically going to be decided there. I still believe that. It just might not be, the Celtics might not be the heavy favorite that everybody thought they would be, because they are a little bit more vulnerable with things like shooting and, playing a little bit above their skis or out ahead of their skis when the shots aren't falling. They do get frustrated, and they do, turn the ball over and do some of this stuff that kind of lets teams
blame the refs.
Yes, they do.
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's him stepping up in Tatum's role. That was Jaylen. That's what you want out of your second best player. You want him to step into the role your first best player vacates. So
of complaining to the refs. Yeah. Gotta have one guy at least.
Yeah, I'm being facetious. Jason hasn't complained about the refs much this year. That was a last year thing.
Because he's finally getting calls.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they're cool in my book now.
Yeah, they're all right now. They're cool. I mean, he did get a really bad whistle, but I think it was one of those things where it's like chicken or the egg. You know what I'm saying? Are you getting a bad whistle because you're always complaining, or are you always complaining because you get a bad whistle? And I think they feed into each other a little bit.
I'm still waiting for Shake Milton to get that superstar whistle. It's year 5 of this.
He's coming. He's coming, baby. I think the other thing that's happening is what everybody's seeing. I think we're seeing the offense come down, and the Celtics continue to creep up the defensive standings, though. And I think that's going to shoot up.
The offense is still number 1 on cleaning the glass because of those blowouts that you guys had. Like you guys, even with your recent stretch of the last 10 games where they've had the worst offense, I think in the last 10
29,
games.
Literally 29th.
Yeah.
Thank God for the Raptors.
Oh, God. And then, but the offense is still number 1. It's just not that historical gap we talked about earlier, where it was like the difference between 2nd and 15th was the difference between 1st and 2nd. And we can expect some of that with the shooting coming down. And then also you guys have had some injuries, but every team has injuries now, so it's not really an excuse.
Yeah, and we had Al out with COVID, and then he had his daughter, and then he got thrown out of the Magic game. That was what the first Magic game. That's why the Celtics lost, I think. But by the way, Paolo, that was really made me a Paolo believer. Like, Paolo and Al were having like a fucking kaiju fight, like in the trenches there. Like, that was really impressive to me. Paolo, as a rookie, I know Al is older here, but like was really being very physical and going at Al Horford.
Al played good defense on Giannis last year in the playoffs. So
that's what I'm saying. And Paolo was like really not that bothered by it. It was a war. Al made those shots hard on him. Again, fuck, man. The Magic are coming. I came away from those. I know the Celtics played not great, but I really came away from those games with my takeaway being that the Magic are a lot better than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thing with the Celtics is more so that they are. I definitely might have gotten a little bit ahead of myself when I was like hyping up how good, because I picked them in the preseason. I had my biases built in when I was going into the season.
Right.
The one thing that I would be a little bit concerned about is the fact that the gap between first, second, and third was at like early in the season was like the Celtics by a mile, and now they're virtually tied with the Bucks for the first seed.
Yeah.
And then the Cavs are just behind them. And then the Nets and the Sixers have actually been winning recently. So they're within like 4 or 5 games. So
Celtics are actually a game back in the loss column from the Bucks.
Yeah.
They're like technically tied.
Yeah. Because they played more games or some shit. But the thing the only thing that would concern me from the Celtics perspective is the importance, and we've talked about this a lot, the importance of getting that number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference this year, so you can avoid whoever, like in your case, the Bucks or the Cavs or whoever. Yeah. Like you want to play whoever's ever in that 4 or 5 matchup. Right now, it would be the Sixers, the Nets, which isn't a walk in the park, but it's certainly much better than playing against potentially the Bucks in the second round.
For matchup purposes, for the Celtics, that the Cavs, that's just a better matchup. Either of those teams. We've seen the Celtics have success against the Sixers and the Nets.
And not had success
against the Cavs.
Much.
Right. So, right. I the other thing I would just say is like, I mean, the Celtics also, the Bucks have played like 1 billion home games. I think they've played like 17 home games to 12 away games. So that is a change. Celtics are still number 1 in point differential by a pretty sizable margin. I take that back. The Cavs are pretty close, actually. But, I think they will settle in. I think this is a bad slump. The West Coast road trip, they got that out of the way early in the season. That was where all this losing happened, was the West Coast swing. And then these 2 games of the Magic. So now that Rob is back, everybody's going to be settled in. We're going to have Jason Tatum back. I think the Celtics are going to settle back into their winning ways. I think, we're going
to see Sam go into Patrick Bateman mode.
I will go full Sigma. I will go like we are going to see me like Ryan Gosling in Blade Runner. Yeah, the Blade Runner Ryan Gosling, where like I'm like sleeping, dreaming of the 65 win Celtics, and I like wake up like at night and the music is playing and it's I'm alone in my car, and there's I hear Celtics blow it again. Now on pace for 48 wins on the season. Nobody.
It's the exact opposite of last year, where
exactly.
You guys just have a streak to like lose like a ton in the middle.
No, I will become the Joker if that happens. I will be the Joker if like Rob comes back, because and that incites that. I don't think that's going to happen.
For content purposes, I might need to root for this now. So there we go. Other than obviously, I need to root against the Celtics for obvious reasons.
But I just think my main takeaway is the Celtics are not a 67-win team. The Celtics are a 59-win team. I think is what we're looking at more now.
There's going to be a lot of high fives. They're going to score a lot of points.
We're going to score. Is one of the best. Better than Washington. Better than Lincoln. Better than the Bulls. Better than the Warriors. The Celtics team. They're wonderful.
Let me tell you, folks.
This artwork is for the low price of Malcolm Brogdon. You can have a team. You can have a wonderful team. They're all shooting 45%. They're wonderful.
It's great. Yeah. We love catch and shoots. It's actually funny because I was actually doing a Bill Simmons impersonation that has somehow just completely devolved like to Trump, like we said before. I actually, when Bill did that thing on Jalen's podcast, do you remember that, Jalen and Jacoby? He went on and he was like, they're going to be high-fiving a lot. There's going to be a lot of shots, a lot of scoring.
I do.
The Celtics are going to win 67 games, and then that was the disaster Kyrie year.
No, I think that was the hospital Celtics, right? That was Hayward. I think that was the Hayward year.
Yeah. No. It was the year after you guys got Hayward. So it wasn't. It was the year where it seemed like because you guys had just made the Eastern Conference Finals the year before.
Oh yeah.
And then Kyrie and Hayward were coming back, so he was like, everything's going to be a perfect synthesis where we're going to win 67 games and win the Eastern Conference and all this shit. And he was like going nuts on Jalen and Jacoby, and he actually kind of cursed you guys again because this losing streak came almost exactly after him talking about Jason and Jalen like they were the best duo since Shaq and Kobe or whatever.
Yeah, you did. I do think it's not really Jason's had some stinkers, and I know everyone goes insane with Jaylen Brown, but again, it's really just like all of our guys just decided to shoot 30% from three, they
all decided that they're not Klay Thompson and Steph Curry
anymore. So
unfortunate.
It is. It is very funny to me that the Warriors and Celtics, like the Warriors, just kamikazed us, but because this is that was the loss that kicked this whole thing off, was losing to the Warriors, and around
you guys got PTSD from that.
Yeah, well, and that there was the Warriors were 1-5 in that stretch. They beat the Celtics, but then lost to the Pacers twice, and did so all with Steph Curry.
it was all just to take down the Celtics.
Exactly,
the greater good.
Yeah, I was gonna say one final act of benevolence. The Warriors, before riding off into the sunset, destroyed the Boston Celtics for the rest of the league.
We love to see it, folks. Also, Jonathan.
Yeah.
The Celtics are 3 up on the Sixers in the loss column, despite the fact that we've been acting like the sky is falling. First off, I was acting like the sky is falling when the Sixers were bad, and the Sixers have been better recently. But also, let's beat a real team, okay? I'm pumping my Sixers optimism until we beat a real team. That's it.
Did we ever figure out did my 10-6 prophecy come true? I think it was pretty close, right?
I think they might have even been better than 10-6. They might have been 11-5 or some shit.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying, look, man, in the NBA, in the regular season in the NBA, shit really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
Really doesn't.
They have so yes, the Sixers have one good win on the season. It was against the Bucks. And Harden didn't play that game. Maxey got hurt in that game, so that was a huge win. I'm not saying it wasn't. They have one good win on the season, and I'm also a little bit lower on the Bucks than most people this year, even though I think that they are one of the better teams. The Bucks whole thing, and I don't have them on this list because I just think that I think that they're another team that over the course of the season, that they will get better. But the Bucks just they got destroyed by the Grizzlies the other night, and then also on top of that, and look, one game they just probably shot. I know they just shot like shit and whatever, but Chris Middleton, I'm gonna give him a month or two to get back to where he potentially was before, because I've made this mistake too early in the season too many times where I'm like, this guy doesn't look the same. 15 to 20 games in, they get back into their rhythm. They're just as good as they were before. But Middleton has not looked like himself to start the year, and if he isn't himself, that is the Bucks ceiling right there. That's the difference between them being a feisty second round conference finals team and winning the finals. So let's see how Middleton looks, and then I can judge the Bucks based on that.
Yeah. Also, you guys haven't played the Bucks in the playoffs, have you?
We never have. We've been robbed of it twice. We've come within a game and the Sixers fucking choke every time.
I would like to see that, because I think it's also on the table that you guys are just a bad matchup for them. So
it's possible. That's the one thing that I've kind of hung my hat on, and also would be the one thing that if they never win a title, that would just give me one good playoff series win. That's kind of where I'm at. Where I don't know what this team's going to be in a year or two, but I would kill for, as me and Mike have been joking, because I called the Sixers the Vikings of the NBA, the Minnesota Vikings of the NBA.
That's too rude.
And then, but then Mike was like, Mike Chiodo was like, I would kill someone to be destroyed in the conference finals, basically, in the way that the Vikings were against the Eagles a few years ago. Which is true. We just want to get there, and we just want to have one good playoff series win. I'd even take them beating the Nets in the first round or something like that this year. Just give me something. Give me some optimism, some positivity that I can take. And they finally broke the streak where they're not losing 3 games in a row or winning 3 games in a row. They won 4 in a row. So there's at least that optimism and positivity. But I'm holding my optimism off until we see them beat some real teams. And they've been looking better recently. They've been looking better, but they've also been shooting the lights out, and teams are shooting like shit against them, which always regresses, as we just learned with the Celtics.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move on to the next team, which is the Phoenix Suns. Also Joe Ingles returns tonight. So that's a big boost for the Bucks. 34-year-old Joe Ingles coming off a torn ACL. Although with the Bucks doctors, like Brooke Lopez came back better. George Hill was totally fine when he got there. Maybe he'll just come back and be like the 3 years ago Joe Ingles that was like locking up Paul George in the playoffs.
Yeah, Giannis might have the adrenochrome hookup. We don't know.
Is it possible?
Is it possible?
It's entirely possible that Giannis is the plug.
Yeah. We've known this.
What's in those Skittles that he's eating?
Yeah. Right, what does he know about? I'm gonna leave that one.
All right. Okay.
He was connected to the Heat for a reason. I'll just say that.
Oh, enough.
There we go.
Enough. We're not going to slander. I know people will like that slander, but we're not going to slander him like that. Okay, so the Phoenix Suns, and it's funny that I bring up the Suns because a lot of the Suns' pessimism has probably been linked back to the way that they looked in the playoffs, and then every once in a while they have a game like they played against the Celtics,
yeah,
where they get destroyed and everyone freaks out. My stuff isn't even about their recent play. They are 4-6 in their last 10 games. Devin Booker missed some of those games. He played injured in a few games. Mm-hmm. And then when he looks like himself, he's scoring 58 points or whatever. He's 57 points against the Pelicans and they're winning. But my whole thing with them is just Chris Paul just still doesn't look like Chris Paul. And like, if he's at a different stage of his career now, this is the kind of team. I've talked about the Nets being the team probably that needs to go in the most, that has assets. Mm-hmm. I would say that the Suns are possibly even higher or like in that second range. Where like at this trade deadline, you have your picks, you have contracts that you can move, and you have Devin Booker playing like a top 10 player right now. And you have this Chris Paul situation where like Chris Paul's fine, but like is really inefficient for himself. He looks a step slower, and you don't really have that second guy that can really alleviate the pressure off Booker like Chris Paul has been able to, and arguably was even more important to them his first year with the Suns. So I guess my panic meter is like kind of high as high as it can be for a team that like, so I never gave my Celtics one, but I would put the Celtics at like a 3 or a 4. I'm still like, I'm only worried about the fact that they're not running away with the standings and that it will make it tougher for them in the playoffs. Regular season, I think they'll be fine. The Suns, I'm probably going to put it at like a 7 because I just think that, and I know it sounds insane to be like, they're like first or second in the West. Like, why would you panic about them? But like, we saw what happened in the playoffs last year. You can't waste Devin Booker's in his prime now. Like, he has officially entered his prime. Mm-hmm. You can't really waste these kind of seasons that he's having right now, especially when I view the West as kind of wide open. Like, I'm making moves at this deadline, and I have to put myself in the best position to win the West and get back to the finals because I just don't know how long that window is going to be, you know?
Yeah. Well, and, you know, so they have some complicating factors. You know, one, they have the impending sale of the team. You know, I think that limits. I mean, Sarver has never exactly been a big spender.
But Peter Thiel will be.
Yeah, Peter Thiel. Obama will love the Obama Peter Thiel group. God, that would be incredible. The third way group. Palantir, the Palantir Netflix documentary ownership group.
The cabinet of rivals.
Yeah, this is going to be
the ownership group of rivals.
Let me be clear. We've brought in a great president of basketball operations. This is Dasha. She was a girlfriend of Adam, and she's going to. I think she's going to put us back on the back track. Peter introduced her to me. A lot of folks been talking about what a good fit she's going to be for this team. So we're excited to have her. But like it's clearly impacting the way that they have money because like we did this when we did our trades and we were talking about Jay Crowder because that's the other thing that's kind of hanging over this team right now is you've got a rotation player that's just not playing for some reason that nobody understands. And
it's just ridiculous at this point.
Yeah,
It's December 19th. Like, at least with Ben Simmons was like actively like, no, I will fuck the team up if I'm there. You're telling me that if they just called Jay Crowder, they're like, just come play like 10, 15 games for us, like he wouldn't just be like, all right.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. I don't understand what I don't know. Anyway, but that's the other thing is it's like we found this out where we're like they can't take back money in that trade, and Jay Crowder has, you know, a pretty cheap contract, so it's hard to get a rotation guy of his caliber back for that amount of money.
I have a deal, by the way.
Okay, let's hear the deal.
So this is an idea that I've been sitting on since September. I tweeted it out, and I just think it makes a lot of sense for both teams. The one thing from Phoenix's perspective, you might say, we're looking more for defensive guys who can survive on offense instead of the other way around. But like Josh Okogie's been playing better for them recently. Like I think he might be playable with all the shooting that they have, even though he's not a shooter. So why don't they just trade Jay Crowder to the Nets for Steph Curry? Like,
oh, I did see you tweet this. Yeah.
Like the reason why, and I know that defensively there might be some issues there because he's a small guard, but like they're already playing Landry Shamet in their rotation. They basically can get off that contract after the season. Seth is only making around the same amount of money as Jay Crowder. I think he makes like $8 million. Jay Crowder might make a little bit more, like $9 or $10 million. They're both expiring, so you don't need to take on long-term money. You can renegotiate with Seth after the season and I think he would be kind of like the perfect bench movement shooter guard, because like I've seen Suns fans complain about their late game offense a lot since Chris Paul hasn't really been Chris Paul, and most of it's going to be running through Booker. But if you have another shooter, another capable ball handler, secondary creator like Seth, who can really play within a movement system like the Suns have, I think that could really make them a dangerous offensive team in a way that I don't really think that they have, even though they're ranked very high in offense. I don't think that when you get to the playoffs, as we saw last year, like they can be stifled. And I think having as much shooting and ball handling and guys that just know kind of where to be during the playoffs. Now, defensively, once again, could be an issue, but the money works. You're not taking on long-term money, and you're basically taking that Landry Shamet spot and you're upgrading it by a ton. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's the thing is like, you know, because I like that deal, but I just think overall that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the Suns is what they have all these constraints, right? And then we're not even talking about the elephant in the room. The biggest constraint, why the real reason I think that they're kind of saving a lot of their stuff is the KD thing. Yeah. That is the thing, you know, is that's what they're kind of waiting on to see if, is it going to go off the rails again? You know, is somebody going to ask Kyrie about globalists like in a press scrum, and then all of a sudden we're back to, you know, doing this all over again? Like what, you know, because I think that's the other thing. And the Nets seem to their credit, have stabilized, at least for the time being, that situation. So it doesn't seem like Katie's going to be going anywhere, at least for the rest of this year. So what do you do if you're the Suns? Like, do you lose your chance at KD that may be coming down the road later on next year by trading stuff this deadline, or do you save it for a guy that might not be ever become available, and then boom, your window is shut like you're talking about, because you are an older team and you do have Chris Paul and all this other stuff. So,
but the Seth trade is a way to kind of do best of both worlds, right?
Which is why I like it. Yeah.
You're upgrading that spot. Yeah. And then also you have the flexibility after the season. Because, like, to me right now, I think when they're healthy, when Cam Johnson comes back, they're going to be a tough playoff team. I don't see them making it past the second round unless Devin Booker just goes absolutely fucking off in the playoffs. Like that's really their only path. Like, I don't think they have nearly enough creators. I don't think that I think defensively they're going to be able to compete. There are going to be certain matchups that aren't going to be great for them, but I think that they're a smart team that plays together. They play good team defense together. But once again, I know their bench has been playing well during the regular season. I don't really trust any of their bench guys in the playoffs. Like we haven't really seen any of these guys play in the playoffs. And if you get a guy like Seth, like I know Seth had his concerns when he was playing 40 minutes a game versus the Hawks, and he was the main shot creator for the Sixers, but getting him to be a six man that only needs to play 15, 20 minutes a game and do a little bit of a fake kind of, not obviously Devin Booker, but like an off-ball movement shooter that can, run offense occasionally is going to return a lot better results than just having no one for Jay Crowder. So that, to me, I also like it from the Nets perspective too. Like the Nets need big body wings for certain matchups in the playoffs. You have Giannis, you have Tatum, you have both of the Celtics guys. Yeah. You have even just like, I don't know. I think Crowder can capably guard like James Harden, like this version of James Harden.
Shut down PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
Head to head. We're gonna contain him.
If you don't have Crowder, Tucker might score 6 points.
Upwards of 6 points. That might be the difference of the game. There's a lot of close games out there. What if PJ Tucker scores 6 points? You can't let him score any points.
Exactly. And also the Nets just can always use more shooting and spacing, and like he's going to put up a ton of threes. So like I kind of like that deal for both sides, and I think it solves some issues for both teams because Seth has had a hamstring injury recently, but the thing with that is that he has been in and out of the rotation. Like he's not even like, because the Kyrie Seth defensive backcourt fit is a little bit weird, and because like they played Patty Mills at a certain point in the year, he hasn't even been like solidly in their rotation. And part of it's because he's injured, but part of it is just like I don't know if they're going to be able to trust him in the playoffs because of their defensive issues.
Yeah, it's just kind of a bad fit, just in terms of what they need.
Yeah,
I mean, Seth's really only there because Ben threw a temper tantrum. He's got to be so pissed, man.
Yeah, he loved Philly. It sucks.
Yeah,
we would love to bring him back and fulfill the Embiid plus 14 guards prophecy.
Yeah, we got to get it. So let me devil's advocate real quick before we move on, because I think the Suns have a real shot to come out of the West.
Okay,
I see it the other way. Because like because I get what you're saying. You don't trust their guys in the playoffs, but like. What you trust Jake LaRavia and John Conchar and
the Pelicans are the only team where I trust their bench.
Well, and the Suns beat them.
Sure.
Last year. I mean, I know Zion is back, but like, the real reason they had, that they were able to do that was because like the Alvarado and Chris Paul thing kind of snuck up on everybody, with a minimized Chris Paul.
And Booker was hurt in that series.
Damaging.
Too.
Yeah.
Booker missed like 2 or 3 games. So.
Right. Like, I don't know. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying the Suns are a slam dunk or anything like that, but like the West is for somehow free again. Like there are like 8 teams that could win the West again, like straight up. Like maybe not the Kings, not the Jazz, maybe not the Blazers, but pretty much anyone else in that range, like all the way down the standings. Not the Wolves. Like, so, if you told me the Mavericks won, like, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked.
But that's the thing is, like, I guess my thing with the Suns is, like, I think that they need to build – their strength needs to be their depth. Because I think there are 3 matchups where they clearly have the worst player of teams they could run into in the playoffs. And it's not even Devin Booker slander. He's still one of the 10, 12 best players in the NBA. It's just that if you're going up against the Nuggets, you're at a disadvantage. If you're in terms of best player, the Nuggets also have shit depth, but like Jokic can cover up a lot of that stuff. And we'll talk about the Nuggets in a little bit. But that matchup, the Mavs matchup with Luka, which they saw last year in the playoffs and it punched them in the mouth. Yeah. And then you have the Steph matchup with the Warriors. So like there are certain matchups where they're probably not going to have the best player. And I think you just need to give yourself as much depth and chance with that depth as possible to kind of, get to the finals again.
I think they had a grand mal diaper disaster in the playoffs last year. And, sometimes you just can't recover from that as a team. I mean, I think it's made things weird with Ayton, made things weird with Jay Crowder. Like there's definitely some scars that the team is carrying for that. But
the Sixers had this. I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Right. So, but I am not writing off the Suns, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying they're like gonna come out of the West or anything, but I'm not like super convinced like the Pelicans are the answer. I'm definitely not convinced the Grizzlies are an answer. I know everyone is creaming themselves over how good they look at beating I guess they beat the Bucks. Congratulations. Like, I don't know. I'm not. We will see with the Grizzlies. I will happily eat shit if the Grizzlies make the Western Conference Finals. I don't think that's happening.
Can't wait.
The Clippers are look, the Clippers, whatever the fuck's going on with them, they're there. They might. I know, shrug, but like they might pull it together. They're. We just got done talking about the Warriors. I don't know.
Any of these teams could win it, could lose in the first round and win the West. Is the point
exactly
here. Yeah.
Exactly. Like who's the least first round loss proof? Like the Grizzlies and the Pelicans probably. And
I'd even put the Suns up there. Like I think that the Suns are going to probably, unless they get a bad matchup in the first round.
Yeah.
Which you could say for any team, but like they're going to finish with one of the higher seeds probably.
If I were the Suns, I think that's a great trade, something like that, where you're using Jay Crowder to get back something that will help you this year without putting yourself out in terms of picks, because I think Kevin Durant has got to be the bigger idea.
Sure.
He's the idea for your post Chris Paul world. So
do you want to hear the real sicko mode idea that I don't even know if it necessarily helps the Suns, but I kind of would like it just for the slot?
What is it?
What if they got in on DeMar DeRozan?
Interesting.
Because
DeMar DeRozan and Devin Booker.
Interesting. Like defensively, he's going to give them even more issues than they already have now, and I would understand why they would be like, absolutely not. We want to lean into our strengths of being a good offense, but like DeMar demands a lot of touches. He's not going to space the floor, whatever. But like
they might shoot 60% from like 18.
That's what I'm saying.
Feet. Yeah,
they would basically be like the Nets, but in the Western Conference, where like KD and Kyrie are taking the craziest shots ever, but
their shot quality is dog shit, but their shot making is number one.
Exactly. Yeah. Like they could be like that, but with potentially better shooters and defenders around them.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder what they would have to give up, though, is the thing.
That's the thing is like, are they competing with the Lakers? Because that's the only other team I could see. The two teams I could see, actually, there are three teams I could see making a move for DeMar. Sure. The Suns, the Lakers, and the Heat. And the Heat are the team that I think they would only do it for DeMar in the case that...
God, fuck. That would make me so mad. That would make me so mad.
Well, the reason why is because Jimmy's always out, and DeMar is about as close offensively to Jimmy as you can get. They're very similar players offensively. Jimmy's a little bit better of a passer, but DeMar has been a capable passer and playmaker in the past. But like both live in the mid range, both get to the line. It's on. Both are good finishers.
Like that's gonna happen. Oh fuck.
So
you're gonna trade Tyler Hero and some shit.
Well, they can't trade Tyler. That's the thing, though. They're not going to trade Lowry because Lowry and DeMar, that would be the point of it, right? You reunite Lowry and DeMar, they're boys.
So you got to move Duncan Robinson, basically.
So you move Duncan Robinson and basically all your picks and young players to get back DeMar. So you get DeMar, and then you have DeMar, Bam, Lowry, Hero, Bam as your five guys. Like, they're going to have some issues for sure. Defensively, there's going to be a ton of issues. But, like, if any coach can figure that out, it's spelled. Like, I actually kind of like that for the Heat. Like,
yeah, I kind of do too, to be honest. Yeah. Like, yeah.
They might be starved on shooting, but, like, maybe they have to give up Max Strus in that deal, or they have to give up Jovic or whatever, and that's where it really shoots them in the foot. But
I don't think they would be starved on shooting. 3-point shooting, maybe, but sure. I think the spacing would actually work out okay. Yeah. Like they'd be the Suns. They'd be Suns East.
Yeah, you know, exactly.
Yeah. They're doing all that same shit where they're not a good 3-point shooting team, but the spacing works just because you've got like guys have spots on the floor that like make sense. You know, you can do the DeMar coming off a Bam dribble handoff. You know, like I think that could work.
Oh God, yeah. No, now please don't show this to Pat Riley or any of their people, because this actually would make them kind of. I know that DeMar's had his playoff struggles, but I feel like he could figure it out in Miami, and it would make me sick.
Yeah, it would. I don't want this. No.
Yeah, actually, in retrospect, but and they're also a team that when DeMar was a free agent and before that, they were interested in DeMar DeRozan. Like this is like a guy that we know that they've been interested in.
Yep.
But if the Bulls do decide to blow it up, those are the teams I'm looking after for DeMar trades, and I think that DeMar could help pretty much all those teams.
Right.
All right. Let's talk about the Raptors, because the Raptors play the Sixers tonight. I know this is going to bite me in the ass, and the Sixers are going to lose because this is what happens when I talk shit on a team. But ever since our buddy Zach Lowe said that the Raptors are the sleeping giants of the Eastern Conference, they have gone 2-9 over their last 11 games. With losses to the Orlando Magic, who we spoke of recently, 2 soul-crushing losses to the Nets at the last second. I don't know about you, but I've been watching a lot of Nets games this year, and I swear every single Nets game comes down to the last play.
Yeah.
It's like every fucking game. I'm like they might be built better for the playoffs this year just because they have so much experience at the end of these fucking close games.
Yeah. I'm interested to see the net. I'm really interested to see how the playoff standings shake out because
oh my god,
I wonder what
give me a heart
Nets Celtics might be interesting. I would be honestly a little less confident than I was like last year. I thought that was absurd the way everyone was treating the Nets last year. I was like, give me them. The Celtics will sweep them, and I was right. Like, I think this Nets team is better equipped to do some stuff, even with Ben Simmons. I mean, that's the thing, though. Is you just got the Ben Simmons time bomb.
And you have two guys who can't shoot free throws, which is like, I've actually talked to some Nets fans, and they're like, we want front court upgrades, and we want guys who can hit their free throws, because there are going to be certain series where, like, Claxton and Simmons, like, if KD and Kyrie are both on fucking heaters, you're literally just like, oh, we'll just go to hack a Clax or hack a Ben, and, like, that's going to be just as good, if not a better outcome than letting KD and Kyrie cook at the end of these games.
That should actually be kind of easy to fix, though, because Claxton should have real value because he's a really good player outside of that. You know?
That's the thing, though. I don't think they're going to want to trade him. And then Ben Simmons has no trade value because he's been, whatever. But like that's the weird pickle that they're in. But actually, a team that could really use Nick Claxton is the Raptors. Like they could use a rim protector, a real center who can actually protect the rim. And like a lot has been made of their offense, and we've made a ton of noise about their offense and how they lack real creators and they need more shooting. And Pascal's actually filled in well as a shooter as a creator this year, but they're just not hitting the shots at all. But like, I don't think that's sustainable for the playoffs at all. Their defense is really what's been like kind of weirdly bad recently. Like their defense has actually been like, and from everything I've heard from Raptors fans, it's because they play this hyper aggressive style of defense where they have, because their offense struggles, they have to
turn them over. They have to win the turnover battle.
They have to turn the ball over. And because of that, it is basically what it comes down to is they don't have anyone who can protect the rim on the back end of that. So when they're taking these gambles and they're missing these gambles, it's just a layup line basically every single time. So they're giving up a ton. Like the Kings just scored like 130 against them the other night. The Nets scored in the high 120s. Like their defense has really been struggling, and OG's been out too, and he's their best defender. So it's tough. From a panic meter standpoint, I'm actually not that concerned. Like, I know it sounds weird, but like, I don't know. I didn't really have high expectations. I thought they were a play-in team. I had them as the 7 seed. I think they'll probably end up being in the play-in again. And they're still like the question that everyone's been raising now is the 2 timeline thing, basically the much worse version of the 2 timeline thing with the Warriors is the Raptors thing, because Fred, who's having a bad down season, and except for that Nets game, and Pascal are both 29 going on 30 years old, and Scotty and OG are much younger, but Scotty struggled in a way that he might not be worth building around in the way that people thought he was. And OG's 24 still, about to be 25, like, but he's turned himself into like one of the most important role players in the NBA. So the question with them is, where do they want to go from here? Because if they lean into let's focus on the future, then you could be talking about Fred VanVleet trades at this deadline. I don't think they would trade Pascal Siakam, and I don't think they would trade him halfway through the season. You could be looking at Gary Trent Jr. trades either way. And then also you could be looking at a situation where they decide, I think this is more of a long shot, but maybe they rescind some of their worries that they had about trading Scottie Barnes for Kevin Durant. Like we said before, not that Kevin Durant's available, but if a star does become available, they might be more open to that and then trying to compete with the other timeline and keeping OG or whatever. OG's the one guy that I just don't see them trading, like literally under any circumstance. I think that how much better he's got, how good his contract is, and how much you would have to get back to justify trading a role player on that good of a contract at his age is you'd have to be blown away by an offer. It's everyone else is, I think, is more likely, and I still like they still think that their team is like they have said in the public that their core is the future of a very good team. So I think that they're probably gonna remain kind of where they are, maybe trade Gary Trent Jr. like Zach said, and then kind of pivot and go from there.
So I have pulled up my Raptors tweet from the offseason. Things people are missing on the Raptors are, by the way, the thing I'm replying to is Bill said on the pod before the season that the Raptors could be a number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Let's all remember that. That was incredible. There's an inversion of last year when everyone was too low on them for 70 fluke things. They had a lot go right last year, and the league is way stronger this year. You can't use last year as a benchmark. I had 19 quote tweets all saying that this was just totally insane and off base of me to say this about the Raptors. So I'm gonna go ahead and victory lap just real quick, because this is what happens when you have 6 guys who can play, and you're like, no, Precious Achua is coming back.
And you have a coach who will run them into the ground with minutes, and they'll be injured all the time too.
Look, Nick Nurse is a freak. Okay, I do not want to defend Nick Nurse, but this is the sins of Masai Ujiri.
We talked about it. Yeah.
Yes, like this is like they have 7 playable guys. You know, like they traded the first round draft pick last year for Thad Young.
That's a crazy bad trade.
Yeah, like especially when you're a good drafting team, and then they whiffed on Malachi Flynn, like is the other thing here. So like all of a sudden, you don't have, you haven't really hit on these second round picks the way you have been in the past. Like, I don't know if Koloko is going to be like an NBA player. Like maybe he will be eventually.
I think he will be, but he's a rookie. He's a 21.
He's a rookie. He's like the only young guy I've seen out of them like recently that's kind of like come along. And that's the real problem with the Raptors.
Well, their fans think that Malachi and Delano Banton and Koloko should be playing more, which honestly, at this point, why fucking not?
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, like you're not really going anywhere anyway. You might as well just roll the dice. Like,
I mean, I guess that's like the way out of it. You'd see. I don't know. I do think so with the Raptors. I do think that they should be buying, though.
I don't think they should be buying. Is my question.
What?
Why do you think that?
Because they have there's an identifiable structural problem with the Raptors. It's not like the Raptors are just bad. They're just an insanely weird team.
Yeah.
They do have. You're not going to get fair if they blow it up. Are you gonna get fair value for Pascal Siakam?
No, I said I don't think. I think Fred VanVleet is the only one that they should consider trading at this deadline of their guys they consider the core. And the reason I would is because, and once again, Masai doesn't trade his guys. Once again, Masai is not going to trade someone at the below the fucking basement of their value. That's just not what he does.
Right.
But I think that there could be a market for him, and if you want to kind of reimagine what the team can be, like with as well as the Raptors actually do draft, like, we kind of make fun of them a lot, but like they're very, very good at drafting. Like, I think getting one more solid pick in the next upcoming draft that like you can maybe potentially smash out of the park could really change your fortunes in a way that like, I mean, look, maybe they don't see the difference between the 12th pick in this draft and the 19th pick in this draft, but I'd at least like to give myself a shot at getting one of those guys. And it's not like you're completely tearing it down to the studs, like you said earlier with the Lakers. Like, I still think they're going to compete. I don't really see the upside, but like, I don't see this team winning a playoff series. I don't even see this team, like, if they get a 1-8 matchup versus the Celtics, I don't even see them winning a game. So like, that's my whole thing is like the upside of this team. If you're doing like a win now move, is like maybe you win 1 playoff game or 2 playoff games. And the downside to, maybe making a move for Gary Trent Jr. and Fred VanVleet and kind of reimagining what this team can be is like maybe in the long term, it's kind of similar to how they got Scotty Barnes and it changed things for them.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm with you on all of that, but I also think that like we're like are we sure Scotty Barnes is good enough to reimagine the timeline around him?
I have said before, I'm not a big Scotty guy, but I also don't think he's this bad. I just think that like
he's not this bad. No, I think we're in agreement there. He's not this bad.
Give him a real creator, and let's see. Like that's the thing is like stop forcing guys into roles that they're not built for. Is my whole like your best case scenario is it turns into Pascal Siakam and you're still a first round out. Like that's kind of like what the deal is. Like I really think that if there's any team that needs, if they want to make a win now move, just wait until the offseason to make a win now move and get whatever star creator becomes available next.
Yeah, I just think they could. I think they're a team that could really use a buyout guy. I think they've honestly got a lot of the same problems the Warriors do, to be honest. Like just inverted. You know what I'm saying? I think they need creation. I don't know. I think it's a lot easier to get guys who can create and score for you than it is to get defenders, which is something like a lot of teams are looking for. Like, I think they have a problem that is easier to fix than like, I don't know, like what the Mavericks are trying to fix. I think like they do have Luka, but like you're trying to like build defense and shot creation around that. I think if you have a team that's as good as defense, as good at creating turnovers as they are, like they win the turnover battle by a billion, like every game. I think when we did the pod, that's probably dropped since their losing streak. But when we talked about them before, they were number 1 in steals created and number 30 in giving up steals, like literally the best at both. So I don't know, like could they bring DeMar DeRozan home? Like how expensive is that?
I would love that for them personally, but I also don't think that that's something that they would be like down for. The one guy that like if you want to make a win now move, I would save the creator move for the offseason and try to get like Miles Turner. Like get Miles Turner. Like get a big who can shoot and protect the rim, and I think it changes the fortunes of this team a lot. And that's more like a minor, like maybe you trade Gary Trent Jr. and a first, and like try to get Miles Turner if the Pacers want to move on.
I guess that's what I'm saying is like I think like salary and a filler. I think they're just such an extreme team in so many ways. I think like just a little bit relieving a little bit of pressure will make them better. Yeah. You know, I think they have an easier way out of their problem than say like the Heat do, for example, or some of these other teams. And I think that, you know, I think Pascal's really good. I was wrong about him. I thought that he was going to take a step back this year after his really good year this year. Nope, he's killing it again. So
the Otto Porter thing really kills them too. Him just never being, but that was Otto's never healthy. Like that's his like you use your MLE. You didn't have a lot of resources for free agents, but like if they hit on that, I think this is a different team because he provides a lot of rebounding and shooting and passing that they could use.
Right. Yeah. So I just think I don't know. I would not be selling if I were the Raptors.
I don't think they need to sell. I mean, I think Gary Trent Jr. is probably the guy they move on from, and I'm not a big Gary Trent Jr. guy, so I would understand that. Yeah.
Isn't it $19 million a year too, or something? Like
yeah, but he has a player option after the year, so you can use it basically just as filler if you want to get someone back. Like he can.
Is he going to opt out of that though?
Or maybe he opts into it and a team just takes a chance on him or what. But like actually, I think I brought this up in the last podcast. Like Chucking Darts said, I brought this up on the stream. Yeah. Chucking Darts said when I went on there, he was like, and he's like, I don't think they would make this trade because of like their history and stuff, but like. I would love to see Gary Trent Jr. on the Bucks. And I'm like, that's an environment where I feel like he could actually thrive. Yeah. That would be really nice for them. But like the Bucks just don't have the pieces to make that work unless they're really interested in Marjon Beauchamp, which like would the Bucks
Grayson Allen, Marjon Beauchamp, and the corpse of George Hill. Like,
but the thing is, Marjon Beauchamp fits exactly what the Raptors love, which are wings who can defend and theoretically shoot and like those kind of things. But like at the same time, he was just taken with the 23rd pick in the draft, and the Raptors had a chance to draft in that range, and they traded it for Thad Young for some reason, which still is not a criticized enough move for me. Like that is a terrible move and a rare miss from Masai, who's usually pretty good with these things.
You're right. Yeah. So I guess my thing with the Raptors is as much as I called them not being good this year, like I also do think it's pretty fixable. And I don't think it's worth blowing up, partially because I don't think Scotty is good enough to like do a full blow up around. Yeah, you've got a real player in Pascal. See that through, like, and like you might get lucky. Like if Giannis and Tatum get hurt, the Raptors make a couple moves. They're as in it as anybody. I think.
But they just got to hope 2 of the 5 best players in the NBA get hurt, and then they're good.
Right, exactly. Or they play each other. Hold on. Or they play each other and one gets hurt. Like, which is more, I don't know. Like, look, I'm just saying.
I'll just say, I know that they're not healthy right now, and like maybe when they get healthy, they'll go on a little bit of a run. But to me, this team screams more first round out than conference finals team, and that's the way that I look at it. And like, if I'm a first round out, if I even get out of the play-in, which is a real possibility. Who like the play-in started today. Let's just theoretically say the play-in starts today, right? Yeah. They have to win 2 games just to get into the playoffs. They're the 10 seed. And look, that can change with a 5-game winning streak, and that can change because everyone's so close right now. But like, they'd have to beat the Pacers, and I think they would beat the Pacers in play-in. But then they have to play the winner of the Heat and the Hawks, and like that's not a guarantee. Like that's the kind of situation that they're in now, unless they can start getting healthy and stringing together these wins. So I don't think it's a guarantee that they even make the playoffs, and that's to me where I'm like, I would consider maybe retooling a little bit and pointing in the opposite direction, but it does not seem likely.
But also, by the way, that also wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to give Masai like the 17th pick in the draft.
Even then, if they lose in the plan, it would be like the 11th pick in the draft or the 12th pick. Like that's where I'm like, you could probably get real value there.
Yeah, well, and like you get real value there, and then like, you know, if Masai knocks that out of the park, you know what I'm saying? Like if you. I mean, like, look, it all depends on what value you can get for. If you can get a decent first, like if you can get a Dallas Mavericks first for fucking Fred VanVleet, sure. Like, but I just don't think that trade's going to be there. Like, and I don't think it's worth selling. Outside of Scotty Barnes, all their guys are in their prime. I guess OG's kind of younger, but like, I don't know. I wouldn't be so quick to be in the sell thing. If I were the Raptors. Like,
that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about 3 teams real quickly that have what I described as structural issues. It's a good way to put it, right?
Yeah.
So the Nuggets are a team that I think everyone just assumes because they have Jokic and because they're incredible when he's on the floor that they're going to be contenders. And I'm starting to be concerned. I do think that is the case. Let me get that out of the way.
Yeah.
If you
We've just gone over that the West is kind of free right now. Like so
and if you have one of the 5 best players, you'll have a shot. Like that's just how it is.
If the playoffs started tomorrow, I think they would probably be the favorites, to be honest.
Fair. Okay.
Besides maybe the Grizzlies. But I really think they would probably end up being the favorites.
But they really do have structural issues from like they're a bottom 10 defense with Jokic when he's on the floor. And their defense is even worse when Jokic sits.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they have like I believe they have the 28th defense in the NBA right now, which is horrible. Like they have a lot of negative defenders in their rotation. And I thought that they were going to solve some of those issues by getting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Bruce Brown this summer. I thought it was going to shore them up on the wing. And I'm still giving Jamal Murray some time to return back to being the Jamal Murray of old. He had some games recently where he looked awesome. And they're scoring a ton of points, so their record's still really good because they're beating teams by like 10 points per 100 possessions or something when Jokic is on the floor, but they're getting destroyed in the minutes he sits. And right now, their defense is currently ranked. Let me pull it up. Hold on one second.
I have an idea, by the way.
Let me hear your idea while I pull up there.
OG Anunoby for Jamal Murray.
Okay. Well, no, I don't think first off, the Nuggets wouldn't trade Jamal. Like, I just don't think that, especially off the injury, like, but it kind of makes a little bit more sense for both teams if you felt like Michael Porter Jr. wasn't a ticking time bomb. You know what I mean? Like, if you were like, oh, Michael Porter Jr. could just be like not that he's a creator, but like we just put a bunch of defensive guys around Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. and we're cooking with gas. But like, and like Bones has been really good, but like Bones is I don't think Bones and Jokic can play together in the playoffs. Like their defense is just going to be a disaster with those two.
This is so disgusting. Typical American chauvinism. You Yankee, you just want to keep the prodigal son of Canada from going home.
True.
To his Jamal Murray. Raptors fans would love that. That's like the only way you could trade OG with like. Raptors
I was going to say, I was like, they were trading him for Brandon Ingram earlier today, so I don't know if that's.
No, if it's Jamal Murray, I think they could. Yeah. I kind of like that trade for. I actually kind of like that trade for both teams. I think honestly, I think Jamal Murray being hurt actually makes
it a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. I don't know. I'm very much of like, if Jamal gets back to where he was before, you kind of need that second. Like you always need
Right.
a second perimeter creator in the playoffs, and like
Right.
Jokic is an amazing offensive player, but like one tough matchup for him, whether they're, I mean, he doesn't really have tough matchups. He just score. The Lakers have been playing them tough and have played them tough, but like he generally wins that Anthony Davis matchup. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that like if you're going in on the Jokic plus defense thing, like OG is about the best guy you could get for that because he's a capable offensive player who's amazing on defense. But like, I just don't see them trading Jamal. But that might be the one thing that the Canadian people would be into because he's from there.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the thing is like, I guess to go back to the Nuggets and like
they have the 28th defense in the NBA right now. Yeah.
That's tough.
It's really tough. The only defenses that are worse are the Detroit Pistons and the San Antonio Spurs.
So
and they barely have a positive net rating with Jokic crushing in his minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I don't know. They're so weird. It's like it's one of those things where it's like I just don't know what to make of the Nuggets because they haven't been whole in so long. You know, like I do like the Bruce Brown edition. Like I wonder what happens if they shorten up their rotations in the playoffs. Like if you're playing Jokic 40 minutes instead of, you know, whatever his rotation is, does that go away like more? You know what I'm saying? Like
do you just outscore everyone and it doesn't matter? But like historically speaking, you have to have a good playoff defense in order to get to the finals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the last team that didn't was those Cleveland Cavs teams that had LeBron and they could just flip a switch.
Yeah.
Like you don't get there without a top 5-10 defense.
I'm skeptical. I really don't know. To be honest, I haven't watched that much Nuggets. They're probably one of the teams I watched the least this year. So I'm also not.
Well, their fans can't even watch. They don't have their fighting with their cable companies.
That's so bad. Oh no.
No interest for the two-time MVP. Capitalism. Let's give him a third.
Yeah. God. We love capitalism, don't we, folks?
We love it.
It's just so good. I don't know. I see. The thing is, the Nuggets again. Just what we're talking about, it falls into that West zone. You know, you can tell me any result for the Nuggets, and I would believe it. You could tell me they lost to the Kings in the first round. I'd be like,
okay, I wouldn't believe that.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's surprising, but I believe it. You know, like
that's the one team I couldn't see them losing to.
But like I do think like you can tell me they like stomped the Warriors. I'd be like, sure. Like they eviscerated the Grizzlies. Awesome. Like that. I believe it. You know, like I just have no idea what to make of them because it also their playoff success. The season where they had their playoff success was the bubble too, which also calls everything into question a little bit. You know, like was that real? And then just everyone got hurt right after. So it's like. I still don't really know what they are. You know, I think this playoffs is actually, if they get there healthy, this is actually going to be the first time we're seeing without any asterisks or caveats or anything like that, what this Nuggets team really looks like. So I guess I'm just interested to see that. I don't really have much in the way of opinions more than just like, I'm really interested to see what that looks like, you know?
So I would say what's funny to me is that remember like the kind of like with the Sixers where like the second round exit they had against the Raptors on the Kawhi shot was like the peak of like the post-process years.
Right.
Where it was like, oh, the one team with Jimmy Butler where they really only played great together for like 1 month.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of like with the Nuggets where like so far the best years in terms of winning, the best in terms of they did get to the conference finals in the bubble, but like you said, some of that might come into question. Yeah. But like the peak where like we really thought the Nuggets could win the title was right after they traded for Aaron Gordon and before Jamal Murray tore his ACL. Like that 2-week span, they were fucking destroying teams. And we were like, holy fuck, the Nuggets are real contenders. Like everyone was about to pick them to win the title. Jamal Murray tears his ACL. If he's not the same, although I've seen some games recently where he looks pretty much back to his normal self. On offense, it's the defense where like some of that lateral mobility is a little bit questionable and he's just not really been the same guy. And he actually was a pretty capable defender before. So I'm wondering with the Nuggets, like what gets them into like making me feel better about it. And all of it to me just comes down to, I don't know, but like I like Bones a lot, but like he's he might be the guy that they end up having to trade at some point, which I'm sure Nuggets fans are going to want to fucking kill me for this. But like, just like when people were saying the Sixers might need to trade Maxey, like I understand the emotional investment of not wanting to do it, but like from a logical standpoint, taking that and turning that guy into an OG Anunoby type, which, you know, every team wants, but like that's probably the trade that can get, because I just don't know if Bones and Jokic are going to be playable together in the playoffs. And if you want to maximize your championship odds, that's probably the move. You probably won't do that until after the season, though. Like, you're not going to trade a guy in the middle of the season like that.
Are they a Jay Crowder team? Do they have any salary that could do Jay Crowder?
That's the problem with them, is they don't have a ton of salary. We've tried to do trades with them before, and it's like some of their prospects, like do you like Peyton Watson and Christian Braun, who just went at the end of the first round and haven't really done anything in the NBA so far? Do you like, you know, like they don't really have a lot of first round picks. Like, I don't think the Nuggets or the Suns are interested in improving the Nuggets by any means. Like, that's the real issue with the Nuggets, is they don't have a ton of in-season trades they can make, except I do think that they should be going after a backup center like Andre Drummond or someone like that.
Yeah.
Because DeAndre Jordan is just going to be a fucking disaster in the playoffs.
Yeah, they can't. Yeah. No, they can't survive that.
Yes.
So they can get to the money with Ish Smith and Jeff Green. And like, you know, Christian Braun. So like maybe that's a Jay Crowder team, but I don't know if is Christian Braun enough of a sweetener for.
No.
Is it Brown or Braun?
It's Brown. It's like Ava Brown.
Brown. Okay. Good.
It's just that's the only historical example I can think of. I'm sorry.
Well, was it her name Ava Braun, or did you pronounce it Brown?
I thought it was Ava Brown. I don't know.
We're not up on our Nazi. We're not up on that. Sorry. Nope.
I'm not going any further with this.
We're an anti-Nazi podcast.
Yes,
it's proven by the fact that we don't know how to say Ava Brown.
Exactly. We are firmly against Nazis. You know, ball.
Anti-Nazi podcast.
And the first anti-Nazi NBA podcast. Every other one, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say until they're awfully quiet about it.
Definitely haven't talked about it recently.
Why are no other NBA podcasts declaring themselves anti-Nazi? You know, just think about it.
Troubling a little bit if I think about it.
Yeah, it is. We're the only ones.
All right. So, I mean, do they really what are your objectives as a franchise? Do you want to have Jokic have historical on-offs, or do you want to win a title? Because that's what it comes down to for the Nuggets, as Aaron points out in the comments. Like, it is tough. It's tough. You gotta balance these things. Okay, so last two teams we're going to talk about very briefly are the Chicago Bulls, who we've talked about a lot, but I think they're even in a worse spot than they were before. They are, and one of the things we've talked about over and over is like getting into that bottom four for them would be the only way that they ever blew it up. And right now they have 11 wins and 18 losses. They just got destroyed by the New York Knicks.
Okay.
Which is not great. And they have two teams in the West that have a worse record for them, and 4 teams in the East who have a worse record for them. So they have the 7th worst record in the NBA right now. And if they want to get into that bottom 4, they basically only have really, like, with the way the Magic have as many wins as them now, who own their pick if it falls outside of the top 4. And then the Spurs, Rockets, Pistons, and Hornets. And honestly, the Pistons and Rockets have been kind of competing in these games recently. The Hornets and the Spurs are the only 2 teams I think there's no way they can get worse than them no matter what they do. Like, it's just going to be impossible even if they make a bunch of trades. Like the Bulls could get into that bottom 4, and with the flat odds, they have a 50-50 shot of keeping their pick or not. But now it's like a real conversation, because like everything can change obviously with a winning streak or a losing streak, but like, I don't know. I think they need to be doing some real soul searching between now and the deadline.
So we're talking about 7th to 1st is a 20% chance swing of keeping your pick for the Bulls.
Okay.
So it's like a 65. They have like a 65, 66% chance of keeping their pick if they finish 7th.
Of losing their pick.
Losing their pick, sorry.
Yeah.
And they have a 47% chance of losing their pick if
they're in that bottom 4.
If they're exactly. They're in the bottom 4.
Yeah.
So,
but like, you're basically okay. So there are 2 teams I want to talk about right now. One is the Wizards and one is the Bulls. And they're in very similar situations where they don't have a ton to look forward to. Their upside is maybe make the 10 seed and get crushed in the play-in at this point. Like, that's kind of what I think of these teams. Like, I don't think of these teams as even winning a play-in game. Like, I just don't see it with either of them.
Right.
And if that is the case, then what do we do? Because, like, I've been saying for weeks, I actually think the Wizards are the more depressing team than the Bulls. I think that they have even less than the Bulls. I think that whatever trades they make, they're not going to get a ton back in value like the Bulls could potentially get for DeMar. Maybe you could spin Porzingis and Kuzma, but like, I don't know.
The Bulls
if they
at
really
least
do that.
Traded their young guys. Yeah. That's why they don't have the Wizards have all their young guys and they just suck.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like that is a brutal run.
Yeah.
Rui, Denny, Kispert, and Johnny Davis, like, all picked above 14, right? I think they were all picked above 14.
They were all like 9 to 12. Like,
that's fucking rough, man.
Yeah.
That's how you be a bad team. You want to talk, because you by tanking thing, you know, like, this is how you actually be a bad team, is you whiff on all those picks. Because there's a lot of guys they could have picked in that range, any of them, that would have totally changed their fortunes in any of those drafts.
Yeah.
Like,
it's usually a sweet range to be in, to be honest. Like, you can take some upside swings, and they just don't do that.
I guess that's the thing, is they just, well, I mean, like, Rui was kind of an upside swing, but he just, like,
I learned something very funny about Rui while I was on Chucking Darts. At the press conference when they drafted Rui, they were talking about his skill set, and the general manager looked at him and said, "You can shoot threes, right?" And he was being dead serious. Or the owner of the team looked at him and said that. Like they didn't even know, like, if he could shoot, and like they didn't do their homework, basically. And like,
next two picks after Johnny Davis, by the way, were Jang and the good Jalen Williams.
And then AJ Griffin was right after that.
Yeah, and then AJ Griffin, was exactly right after that.
Who I wanted them to draft.
Yeah, so
I think it would make so much sense.
So listen to this. You've got Moses Moody 14, Kispert 15, and then Şengün 16, Trey Murphy, Trey Man. Like,
at least they're guys. Those are guys. Like, those.
That's
are
what I'm saying. Yeah, like you could at least have guys. Kispert's probably their best young player, by the way. I would say.
I say
like him better than Denny.
Kispert's definitely their best young player. I would say from like, unless if Denny learns how to shoot, that changes the story. But he's a little bit older now. Like, he's like 22, 23. Like,
Denny 9. Okay, next 3: Jalen Smith, Devin Vassell, Tyrese Halliburton. That's brutal, man. That's so brutal. Like, because that's my thing when I look at like draft misses and stuff like that. Like, when I go back and I like look at, like, you know, Romeo Langford or something like that. Like, who did you not take, like, in that range? Like, how bad would that
And this is not revisionist. Most of those guys, Devin Vassell had a ton of fans. Tyrese Halliburton had a ton of fans. Yeah. Like, at the draft, on draft night, we were all like, just draft AJ Griffin. Like, we were all like, just take the guy who's clearly going to be good.
Where you get into trouble, like where the Celtics hurt themselves with their draft pick, was the Nesmith pick, because there were a lot of good guys on the board that time around, like Tyrese Maxey, and they traded for the Desmond Bane pick for $5 million of Venus Freedom Cantor. But anyway, point being that this is why the Wizards are bad. You know, the Bulls are in they've been in a miasma of mismanagement for like a while. You know, the Wizards, I think what's weird about the Wizards is their mismanagement is like almost inaction. You know what I'm saying? Versus like the Bulls, like, meddle too much and are too busy.
I actually think the biggest problem with the Wizards is it is inaction, but it's also like anytime they make an action, they immediately are like, all right, like they had success during the Westbrook year and they brilliantly sold high on Westbrook.
Yep.
And then they turned around and they fucked it up by trading for Will Barton and Monte Morris, like KCP. Like, and now Kuzma is like, I don't know if you've seen recent things, but like, he's basically asking for a trade request publicly without saying it. He literally said in an interview, it would be rude of me to ask for a trade request, but like, I'm not opting into my contract. Like, basically trade me, but I'm not going to say it. Like that Porzingis trade was one of the most depressing of all time. Like,
You like you get the Bertans. That's gone pretty much as well as it could have gone, by the way.
The Bertans thing?
Yeah.
Or the Porzingis?
The Porzingis thing.
Oh, yeah.
Considering,
He's been good.
That's what I'm saying. And you're still bad. Like, because you had to trade, like, one of the worst contracts in the NBA in Bertans that you signed.
Yeah.
Because you brought your guys back. And then Spencer Dinwiddie, who was bad.
He was coming off a torn ACL.
Yep.
And everyone in the locker room hated him immediately.
It's bad. It's bad. I feel like the Bulls, because the Bulls had some bad. I mean, the Bulls just can't develop talent. Like they've had some stinker draft picks like Denzel Washington, or Denzel Valentine. I mean, Denzel Washington. So, that would not be a stinker draft pick. I would love that.
It'd be amazing. He wouldn't be able to play at all, but everyone in the locker room would love him.
Yeah,
very entertaining.
Very, very. Just everyone loves the guy. But yeah, the Denzel Valentine was like a bad one. But like they had Lauri Markkanen, who they just couldn't figure out what to do with, which whatever.
I get it with Lauri.
I get it.
Like, yeah. Wendell they gave up on too early, but I get it with Lauri. Like Lauri, he was kind of whoa, what do you do? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Gave up on him too early. Like, Kobe White, even like that one's another one where it's like that actually wasn't that bad. You look at the guys who got picked around.
No, they've drafted the Bulls have drafted really decent. Like everyone misses on picks every once in a while, but like it's really just the fact that none of their guys have developed, and it's the fact that like I guess the thing you could take from it is like at least they have the injury excuse that the Wizards don't have. Like the Wizards don't.
Yes.
But from the Wizards' perspective, they at least have their picks, and like their only picks that they've sent out was in the John Wall, Russell Westbrook trade, where they traded a first, but they smartly lottery protected it and top like 12 protected it. So like even if it ever converts for whichever team, I think the Knicks have it now. It's going to be outside the lottery. So like, I guess my whole thing here is like, and this was my thought, was that like the Bulls and the Wizards both. I would be exploring trades for everyone but Beal and Levine now. Where like Beal and Levine's trade value is at an all-time low. I'm not trading either of those guys while it's this low. Yeah. I just gave them a ton of money, and we talked about this on Twitter, and Rob Flom said the same thing, which is like basically I'm trading Kuzma if he wants out, maybe even moving Porzingis, and I'm just getting back whatever I can, and I'm trying to do the Blazers thing where they reset around Dame, or I'm trying to do the thing that like will get us a shot at getting a franchise-changing talent at the top of the next draft. The Bulls is a little bit more complicated because their pick's protected, but like if I'm going that route, this is what I'm going to do. The Wizards, to me, it is cut and dry. Like if any team in the NBA should blow it up, I actually think it's the Wizards more so than the Bulls. There's no fucking hope for that team, dude. Like I watched them play against the Lakers without Anthony Davis last night, and it was so depressing, dude. I was like, this is a disaster. And like keep Beal until maybe he wants out after the season, and then you can revisit that in the offseason and go from there. But yeah, the Wizards are just in like the most like obvious sell mode of all time, and it just comes down to convincing the owner that it's worth doing it for half a season.
All right, it works in the trade machine. There's actually a hard cap thing, but you can play with the guys involved. Porzingis to the Raptors with a Gary Trent framework plus some other guys. Thad Young doesn't work with like some hard cap stuff and some other things, but
they can send back salary in that case.
They can send back some salary
because you're blowing it up. Like you could throw in like Wright, who has played for the Raptors before. The point guard that they just signed, I can't remember his first name for some reason right now.
DeLon Wright.
DeLon Wright. Yeah. He's played for the Raptors before. They could always use more ball handling.
Monte Morris, or I don't know if he's probably too good to go in that trade.
Yeah, but Will Barton. Will Barton is expiring, and like he has not been good.
Does Masai go ultimate pervert mode and ask for Rui in return just to try to
another wing?
Yeah, another salvage. I like the ultimate challenge trade. Like, give me Rui, I can fix him.
I can fix him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I actually don't hate Porzingis on the Raptors though.
Yeah, I'm just saying like that might be a fit. Like, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like
if he can stay healthy, which he never can.
He never can.
Yeah.
But like, if you're giving up Gary Trent, like who cares? Like,
what does he have? A year left on his deal after this deal?
Yeah, I think it's just a. I can tell you for sure here in a second, but I I think it's just 1 year left.
I mean, I kind of
it's a player option, so 2 years because he's probably going to opt into that. I would guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, he's still only 27 somehow. I think I would do that.
Yeah.
I think I would do that. Like I like that. Those are the kind of deals I'm looking at if I'm the Wizards. Like more so than any other team. Their panic, the panic meter for the Bulls should be a 10 because they don't have their pick, and that's what makes it the most obvious one.
Really bad.
Yeah. And they've built a team that just is going nowhere.
I just don't think blowing it up. Like I guess what I'm saying, because people are getting me confused when I'm talking about the Bulls. I don't think they need to be in a hurry to blow it up. You are not losing ground. Like you're still losing games. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't need to.
If they traded DeMar, they would be a bottom 14. Like that's just kind of what it comes down to.
But I also think you could get you know what I'm saying. You can wait if you're the Bulls. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because if DeMar is the only one with value, he's still got 1 year left on his contract. Porzingis is not. Or not Porzingis. Vucevic is expiring, but
I guess that's just what I'm saying is you don't need to sell DeMar for like 50 cents on the dollar because you have to get low. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to. If you're the Bulls and you don't like what people are offering you, you have options. You can just tough this out. You know what I'm saying? Like the Wizards, you've got to sell Kuzma now. Like you've got to. There's a bunch of shit like that with them, which is like.
Honestly, before this Porzingis injury, they probably could have gotten something decent back for Porzingis, but he's hurt again. Like that's just kind of the reality of the situation with him. All right, that's a good place to end it. My Wizards, I didn't have any expectations for them, but my panic meter from like, oh shit, we just signed Bradley Beal to the second biggest contract in NBA history, and we're still going nowhere. I mean, it should be like. If you're the GM, it should be like an 8. I would be surprised if Tommy Shepard's the GM in 2 seasons, if this is his master plan.
Because he made one of like the best trades of all time like 2 years ago. And he just has done nothing with it.
The Westbrook trade? Like, why didn't you try to trade Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for a decent young guy? Or like, like that Monte Morris trade, we hated it at the time, and I hate it even more now. Like it just makes no sense, but
it's tough.
All right. That was a good one. We'll be back later in the week. I'm going to go watch the Sixers, hopefully not lose to the Raptors and make me eat all my words that I had tonight.
It's the gamble we all take.
Let's go. Any updates on our Zach Lowe Christmas pod?
We are in the lab. We had a tragedy. We had a tragedy where I lost a lot of the audio files, so I might need to just do the whole thing from scratch.
Oh again. No!
But we have some great concepts. We've got some great concepts in the stew. So now, of course, this is all predicated on our Hogs signing.
Well, right now, we're only 9 Patreon subscribers shy of that. So we're at 301.
And maybe if we get 9 more Patreon subscribers, you will hear the beautiful Zach Lowe thing.
That's right.
Christmas. On Christmas, you will have a Christmas episode. So
let's go.
We will see.
It'll be in your stocking on Patreon.
Stocking, yeah.
All right, peace.
All right, later.